Chicago, one of the largest cities in the United States and home to the nation's rail center and the leading Midwestern center for manufacturing, trade, economics, advanced education, religion, jazz, and culture. The city lured European immigrants who were all engrossed in the city's influential ward-based political machines. Due to the rapid growth, Chicago became cluttered and overcrowded, making it inefficient and unpleasant. Architects would only plan out the buildings, except one with ambitious plan and vision. Daniel Burnham and his plan for Chicago. Daniel Burnham is a paramount historical and cultural figure of Chicago because of his plan for Chicago, and his extraordinary leadership skills were made obvious when he became Director of Works at the World's Columbian Exhibition of 1893, and his extraordinary concepts on urban planning still carry on today. Daniel Hudson Burnham was born in New York City on September 4th, 1846, and moved to Chicago when he was 9 years old. In 1863, after he had graduated high school, he prepared for college with his tutor, Tilly Brown Haywood. Through Haywood, Burnham met the architect and writer W.P.P. Longfellow, who encouraged Burnham's interest in architecture. Burnham failed to acquire admission to college because of his social and artistic skills were more dominant than his academic abilities. In his early adulthood, Burnham was accepted as a draftsman by leading Chicago architect William LeBaron Jenney. He wrote to his mother in 1868 saying that he would become the greatest architect in the city and country. Burnham quit his job with Jenney in order to seek his destiny in Nevada, where he tried mining coal and also ran for state senate. Unsuccessful in both attempts, he returned to Chicago in 1870, where he started his architectural career. In 1872, Burnham, at the age of 26, moved to the firm of Carter, Drake, and Wright, where he worked as a draftsman again. A year later, he went into business with a colleague at the firm, John Wellborn Root, a talented architect and an office foreman. Root was creative and resourceful, while Burnham was practical and efficient. Root was mainly accountable for design, while Burnham calculated the plan of their building interiors and prepared the business. Due to the two conflicting personalities, the partnership was widely successful. They flourished after the Great Chicago Fire, which destroyed downtown Chicago. Between 1873 and 1891, the firm designed 165 private residences and 75 buildings of various types. Their former boss, Peter White, recalled that Burnham had a great faculty of impressing his clients with the firm's ability to solve any problem that came to it. He would make rapid sketches, which Root afterward elaborated with the greatest care. He inspired confidence in all who came within the range of his positive and powerful personality. Root had the ability to carry to success anything that Burnham offered to do. In 1893, 2 years after the death of his partner, Burnham became the leader of building and consulting architect for the World's Columbian Exhibition in Chicago, which was the largest World's Fair to that date. The fair celebrated the 400-year anniversary of Christopher Columbus's famous voyage. A team of notable American architects and landscape architects, including Burnham, Frederick Law Olmsted, Clarence McKim, and Louis Sullivan, drastically altered Root's contemporary and vibrant style to a classic revival style. Burnham gained responsibility for supervision and finalizing instructions for 150 buildings on more than 600 acres of land. Under Burnham's management and headship, the production of the fair overcame massive financial and logistical obstacles, including a worldwide financial panic and an enormously constricted time frame to open on time. Burnham teamed with architectural firms from all over eastern United States to create a white city, a community of buildings and landscapes that combine boulevards, gardens, and classical facades. The fair's grand neoclassical buildings were planned as a unified whole in a landscape setting. They made a lasting impression on millions of visitors. Often distinguished as inspiration for the City Beautiful movement, the fair provided to be a defining moment for both Burnham and for the expansion of modern American city. The Columbian exhibition was an accomplishment and it made Burnham celebrated. That year, he acquired honorary architectural degrees from Harvard and Yale universities. He was elected president of the American Institute of Architects. The White City became the focus of Burnham's 1909 plan to transform Chicago to a beautiful city. His work on the fair had settled in Burnham an intense interest in parks and city planning. Burnham believed that an enhanced urban environment could take on positive effects of its residents. Burnham believed that a perfect city could be both attractive and commercially efficient. Burnham's plan for Chicago was the first complete design for an organized development of an American city and an extension of the City Beautiful movement. Burnham created the plan before the occupation urban planning existed. In fact, some say he invented it. One of the contributions to the plans was Burnham's idea of making the Lake Michigan lakefront an entertaining resource. His plan also proposed the formation of a string of landfill islands, which would provide protection against natural corrosion and storms, would also be a good-looking site for boating, picnics, and other outdoor activities. Legacies of Burnham's plan also included Lakeshore Drive and Grant Park. The plan challenged the difficulties of modern industrial city and argued that solutions could be found that would improve infrastructure, relieve traffic congestion, provide open space, and improve the physical environment. Storing the lakefront as a public space was one of Burnham's main concerns and one of the plan's most remarkable accomplishments. Burnham was questioned for trying to make Chicago into another Paris, France. The neoclassical architecture, broad avenues, and public gardens he preferred mimicked those of the French capital. Some critics noted that the plan neglected housing and other pressing urban social issues. Burnham's unpublished draft of the plan, however, does contain a significant social agenda. Renowned Chicago architect Louis Sullivan was said to have protested that Burnham's design set American architecture back by 50 years. Sullivan also criticized Burnham for lack of unique expression and reliance on classicism. Nevertheless, these attacks, many of Burnham's contributions to the development of architecture, influenced city planners across the country to create the ideal city. Burnham was asked to serve as a planning mentor by many other major American cities, including San Francisco, Detroit, and Cleveland. In 1909, he consulted with William Howard Taft for guidance on a plan to rebuild and remodel Manila in the Philippines. By the time of his death in 1912, Burnham was accountable for the design of several significant buildings, including the Flatiron Building, Union Station, and Fine Store. Each of these buildings had a long-term impact on the 20th century cityscape. Through these buildings, Daniel Burnham's vision is carried on. Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans. Aim high in hope and work. This saying has been taken to depict the principle of Burnham's spirit. A man of influence, Burnham was considered to be the most important architect in America at the start of the 20th century. In 1912, when he died in Heidelberg, Germany, D.H. Burnham & Co. was the largest architectural firm. His firm continues to work today under the name Graham, Anderson, Prompt & Wright, which was adapted in 1917. Despite the criticisms of the plan of Chicago, Burnham has an immense legacy that endures. Burnham shaped organizational systems that altered the practice of architecture in the modern age. He was amongst the earliest developers of the skyscraper, and his ideas at the 1893 World's Columbian Exhibition helped enthuse the City Beautiful movement, and before the occupation of urban planning existed, he generated plans for major buildings in the United States and abroad. Burnham was a front-runner in his position who believed that an architect has a responsibility towards the larger community of which he is a part of. Daniel Burnham not only influenced Chicago's development for many years, but also set the standards for urban planning and design.